Yes, I plugged the cable in. Hello and welcome to the not the hash, anything. It's just the Rugby Championship Round 4 review, and what a weekend of rugby we had. 2 games that went down to the final play of the game. Joining me to go through these is the one, the only, the Mr. Ashwin. How are you doing, sir?
Auckland. I know it's Rugby Championship, but I had to put that in here.
Dear. No, last night was the Mitre 10 Cup wrap-up show. So if you want to check that out, go and have a look on YouTube or the DrivingMaul.com, where you'll get my roundup of all the action, plus also the audio from my various post-game review interviews with players and coaches. But that was last night, and tonight we talk about the All Blacks versus the Springboks, New Zealand versus Africa. Final score 34-36. New Zealand's first loss of the year, and the first time they've lost to the Springboks in at home a long time.
Yeah, a long time. I think Adam was still running around on the on the planet when the All Blacks last lost to them.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, it's since dinosaur times, but not quite. And I think to me the big thing here is that we've been talking about the stats behind a lot of how the All Blacks play, and how basically every game up until this weekend, the All Blacks had less possession, less territory than the opposition, but scored more points. This weekend they had more possession, more territory, 75% possession, 79% territory, but scored less points. I mean, where's logic gone, Ashwin?
I suppose logic's gone in terms of I think you alluded to this anyways. The fact is that if you score points and you score points off early phases, then you don't actually have the ball a lot. But you come against a determined defensive outfit, and you don't score quickly, then your possession and territory rates are going to go up. So personally, I think it was an element of that. The fact is that the All Blacks didn't score, but they held on to the ball, but they didn't score.
They didn't, and I've not gone through the stats before this because I was down the pub watching this one, so I don't have my normal page worth of notes, and I hadn't gone through the stats beforehand. But I'm astounded. South Africa were asked to make 235 tackles in this. The All Blacks were asked to make 61. Nearly 4 times as many tackles by the Springboks. You see numbers over 100. You see them get to 150 and think that's a lot of tackles. 235. That's crazy numbers.
Yep. Look, I mean, even like just watching a sports show just before we're coming to air, so to speak, and they highlighted in the last 5 minutes 4 times when the wrong option was taken by the All Blacks. One was this backline move off a 5-metre scrum, and Ryan Crotty just needs to pass the ball and instead takes it into contact. That was one that comes directly to mind. Ben Smith, again on the other flank, again takes the ball into contact when outside him there's a 2-on-1. And not only a 2-on-1, but 2-on-1 with plenty of space. It's not tight. It's not within the 5 meter, the tram line, so to speak, of the 5 meters. So just lots of wrong options taken by the All Blacks. And to me, it's sort of like the concern for me as an All Blacks fan is the fact is that, well, at the end of the day, they didn't actually change their game plan. So then it raises the question, is there actually another game plan?
Yes, exactly. And there was an interesting video done by The End Game, who used to be known as Hypersport, on YouTube. Now it's called The End Game. I did an interview. He interviewed me the other day, or the other week, so you can go and watch that if you want to. But he came out with a video saying that basically that the All Blacks are a process-orientated team, and no matter what the situation is, they play the same way. They're not a situation-orientated team where they play according to the situation. And we saw, and towards the end, hence still going for the try. They weren't going for the drop goal. Now I've heard I've read somewhere that TJ Perenara said that they were set for a drop goal, but he saw a 3-on-2, and he said that the 3-on-2 was in his opinion a better option than the drop goal, which okay maybe, but and if they had scored, to be fair, we wouldn't be talking about it, but they didn't score, did they? So we are.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, like, it was about execution for the All Blacks. I think that was the biggest issue, is the fact is that just a whole night of poor execution.
Yep, the penalty count was in their favour, 3 versus 10 by South Africa. But turnovers is a big one here. 17 turnovers conceded, which against 15 by South Africa. That's a lot of turnovers in this.
Yeah, look, and again, it just comes back to my previous comment. Execution. Yep. There was on a good night, there was no excuses in terms of weather or anything like that. There's no dew actually, because there was a breeze at the stadium, so there was no dew that they mentioned on the commentary anyway. And so yeah, you can't say more than the fact that it's down to poor execution. And part of that poor execution, you have to give the plaudits to the South Africa, because they brought the defence to put that pressure on.
Yep,
and
they did.
Therefore, the execution was not there.
Yeah, the opportunities were clearly there. I mean, the number of players in Barrett, 19 runs with the ball. That's a phenomenal number of runs. All the possession, all the things there. As you say, it comes down to that execution. And so let's talk about that defence then by South Africa and who really stood up. We have 2 players here that jump out. Mostert, 24 tackles. Detroit, 24 tackles as well. Whiteley comes in with 20. And most of the forwards, apart from Marks, got into double figures, to be fair. And Pollard and Jesse Creel in the backs did as well. So even though Pollard missed 7 tackles, he was the biggest misser of tackles in the side. No All Blacks got past 10 tackles. Unsurprisingly.
Okay. Oh, come on. That's a bit harsh. They only had to make 50 in total.
Well, yes.
It'd be interesting though, as a percentage of actual tackles made. That would be the interesting thing, because obviously, the South Africans, obviously they got 2 opportunities given to them, but they still made other tries, which means that there were tackles missed, broken. And with only 54 made by the All Blacks, that means that the missed rate should have been considered, as a percentage, should have been considerably higher than the South Africans.
So that way, the All Blacks made 49 of 61 tackles, 80%, which is okay. It's at the lower end of okay.
Lower end of okay.
Below 80 is poor. And the South Africa made 196 of 235, or 83% of their tackles. The All Blacks made 19 clean breaks, 14 offloads, and hence they scored 6 tries to South Africa's 5. And we can't really avoid it any longer. Beauden Barrett couldn't hit the side of a barn, could he?
He could hit the side of the goalpost.
He could hit the side.
I was talking to legal counsel today, and obviously we're talking about the game. And what we can't understand collectively is the fact is that for the Hurricanes, there's a fella called Jay Barrett that takes the kicks. But for the All Blacks, there's a guy called B Barrett that takes the kicks. The guy called Jay Barrett actually does very well. He's got a very high success rate when he kicks for the Hurricanes. Why does Beauden Barrett have to take the kicks?
And now, to be fair to Beauden Barrett, up until this game, he has been in the 70-80% kicking rate, so he's been kicking well. This game, suddenly it all fell to pieces, which it did last year against the Wallabies in the home game, but Foley's kicking also fell to pieces, I think, from memory, and New Zealand scraped the win. So it's not the first time but he generally has 1 or 2 games a season, test matches, where his kicking goes to pieces.
His goal kicking's always felt flaky though. There's a sense of flakiness about his goal kicking. That's really, I know, analytical. But geez, the fact is that I suppose as an All Blacks fan, you expect your goal kicker to be high 80s at the least, and then in the 90s as a goal kicker. And I don't believe that his record, even when he's going okay, is up there.
Yeah, no. And whilst they said they had a plan for a drop goal, you've probably heard me say this before, but I got the opportunity to go to one of their closed practices before the third Lions test last year.
Yep.
And at no point during that practice did anybody take any drop goals that I can remember. There was kicking practice in driving rain, and there was lots of other training going on. But one thing we did not see was a drop goal or a drop goal routine by any stretch. So, yeah, I think it's just something that isn't in their armoury, that they haven't trained for, and it's just not there.
And as Spock or Bones would say, I can't remember which, it's totally illogical, Jim. It's just like, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Last night they were positioned brilliantly, but right in front of the posts, and they had the opportunity to take the kick. Damien McKenzie's not too bad at the drop kicks. He's done them at Super Rugby level. He's right there. You're playing money ball when you're in front of the kicks, in front of the post as a drop kick. Yeah, there is a chance that he might slice it off this way or that. But when you're that well positioned in front, 5 meters out, in front of the post, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Now, we're probably going to get a bunch of comments saying, oh, look, you're just saying how New Zealand lost it. You should be giving South Africa the plaudits. Now, part of the reason we're doing that is because, as we say, New Zealand had 75% possession, 79% territory. They had the opportunities, but South Africa defence was very good. They made a lot of tackles. They didn't tire. They played for the full 80, and New Zealand didn't execute. That's essentially it. South Africa did execute, and Dante, he has got some feet, hasn't he?
Well, feet would be right, because this is like his feet just look like they're going 100 miles an hour, and it sort of gives that impression that he's super quick, which he is. Don't get me wrong, but his just feet just look like they're on speed.
He's also agile, and the way he can step round players.
Yep, the steps.
Were wonderful. And hence he picked up 2 tries, one for Marks, one for Colby, and one for LaRue, and that's 4 of their 5 tries came from outside backs, which is not really what you'd reckon. Is not kind of your South African typical play, really, is it?
Well, you mentioned the fact that the backs actually scored the tries, but all of their tries were actually from some sort of running rugby. There weren't none of it. I don't think the Rolling Maul wasn't a try from one try from Rolling Maul.
I can't remember which one. Mark, how Mark scored his try. As I say, I was down the pub and my notes.
But look, at the end of the day, it was the South Africa, when they had the ball, it was positive rugby. To me, it's all positive rugby if you're winning. So it's positive. Right? All their play was positive. They looked to use the ball. They didn't just tuck it up, put it under the jumper, and try and go, drive it forward using 10-man rugby. They were using the 15 out on the field.
They were, and actually a comment on Periscope from Southern's 642. It was the best visual game in ages. Which, as you say, it was an exciting game to watch. There was good play by both sides, and it wasn't a grind fest by any stretch of the imagination. As you say, their tries were from running rugby, and well played South Africa from that point of view.
Although I don't think I think apart from this game aside, if you go back over the last few years or whatever, South Africa's been trying to play this running rugby style through multiple coaches. And I've always sort of said, look, if it's not your game, don't get hooked into this false sense that you have to play this running rugby. What you have to do is play winning rugby. Now, if that means playing 10-man rugby like England does, then that's what you should do.
Oh, dear me, get that little dig in, hey? Yeah, you should play to your strengths. You are quite right. And moving on now to I think we've covered off on most of the stuff there, is talking about Australia 19, Argentina 23. Another game that went down to the last play. Folau had the opportunity to win it and fluffed the script, didn't he?
The star player. The star player that they fall over backwards to keep Happy implicated. When he needs to stand up and pass a ball to Foley in the corner. Oops. Oops.
But
that's all you can say, really.
Yeah, and I say 4 points again. Only 50% kicking from Australia, which compared to 83 by Argentina. So again, showing your kicking is vitally important in this one. And again, they had more territory and possession. They had more clean line breaks, but more defenders beaten, all that kind of stuff. But 20 turnovers conceded. Their handling was pretty poor.
Yeah, it was, but you've got a team that's severely under pressure, even though they beat South Africa last week. I think it's a team that's playing like they're under pressure, and they're playing like they feel that pressure as well. Off-field incidents, so sort of showing that up as well. But the fact is that when you're playing under pressure, every little thing just seems to go against you, and you seem to start those mistakes creep in. I can speak from great experience on that.
And yeah, okay. Let's talk about the big point of which was the post game incident in the stands. For a fan to be for anybody to be shouting that kind of abuse at somebody is disgusting. To be doing that in their workplace is also disgusting. If you're doing that around children, is disgusting. The guy was well out of order, and the players did very well initially to ignore him, and Luke Ontui clearly was very emotional, had his family around there, and with his stepfather passing away, things became too much and reacted, unfortunately.
Yeah, look, I mean, and I understand like there was the fan manhandled his sister or something as well, a bit of pushing or something along those lines. It's just crazy, you know. I don't understand fans when they sort of lose the plot like that. You know, it's a game. You have to realise that. The player, you might feel that the players aren't putting in the effort that you expect them to or whatever, but at the end of the day, to go that far, you mean, to have an incident like that, you're going back to when that guy ran onto the field in South Africa and tackled the ref type scenario, and you just, you wonder what's going through the individual's head that they have to take the game that seriously and go that far.
Well, on House Rugby Chat tomorrow night, we will be talking about that because a fan also jumped on the pitch during Toulon's game to confront Julian Surveyor, so we'll touch on fans jumping onto the pitch tomorrow night. But I guess a couple of things here. One, the stewards need to be active in that kind of situation because the players can't get involved. Someone else has to remove him.
Yeah, look, you know, with what we're used to at going to Eden Park. And you can't even, you know, I've got in trouble for just having friendly banter where the other guy is quite happy. There's no, antagonizing or anything. We're both sort of having a bit of a laugh and everything. And the stewards have stepped in and asked us to calm down. And this is so, well, there's nothing to calm down. And yet you have a scenario like that where you expect the security to step in and nothing happens. I think you alluded to last week down in Otago, where Northland fans just having fun, not annoying anybody, got asked to go to their move on. And it's like, when they're actually required to put their big boy pants on, security does nothing.
Yep. Yeah, it's very disappointing. The players that get looked after better.
Yep.
And it does go to show that fans are very care. They're emotional. They want the Wallabies to do well. That's the good side of it. The bad side is how it came out.
Absolutely. Maybe it also highlights, and as you say, we can talk about this tomorrow a bit more, is the fact is that the players, families and that need to be put in an area where they're not put amongst fans.
Yeah, very probably, which is a shame, to be honest.
Yeah.
One of the things that it's actually we'll leave that till tomorrow.
Tomorrow,
I do have other comments on that side of things.
And look, just coming back to the game, I sort of thought that, in terms of leading into that game, anybody, if you looked at the facts on paper, you would have picked Argentina to win that game. It's just the fact that, when you're an experienced rugby watcher, you know that the way that the Argentinians can be up and down like a roller coaster, you know that it's a mental space thing, a mental head thing, top 2 inches. And it's like, but, if you look at the stats, you look at the way they've been playing, they should have probably beaten South Africa twice, before travelling over the side. You would have picked, and the way that, where Australian rugby's at, you would have picked Argentina to win. And that came through. They should have probably even won it more comfortably than they did with the way that they've been playing recently.
Yeah, I mean, they've got some real fantastic players. Again, we'll talk about the Mayano, Delgi, Buffelli, the outside backs, are all just are all class. Sanchez, we've talked about this before, has definitely grown up so much this season. It's been very good to see, and you've got to say the calming or whatever the influence is that Ledesma has brought. Has been fantastic. Now, yeah, I'm not sure if I've got enough calming, inspirational, controlled, whatever the term is. He's taken a team that lost 3 games to Wales and Scotland during the summer, not even full strength sides by Wales or Scotland, and have come round, pushed the All Blacks close, had a really good test match with the All Blacks, beaten the Springboks and beaten Australia in 3 weeks. Everything's suddenly looking up from them from what was something pretty dire, to be honest.
Yeah, it was. This is like, when we think about, we were talking them up before the winter internationals because of how the Haguaris were going, and then it all sort of fell to pieces. They're back where we expected them, basically. We believe in this Argentinian team. We think that the player power, the strength is there in the players that they have. It's a shame Herman's not online today because he does know those player names really well. But like with the locks, etc., the back row, they do create a fantastic platform, and the backs are taking advantage of the platform that they're given. That winger that turned the All Blacks inside out, the nearly try on the weekend that he created was just amazing, apart from the toe just grazing the paint, probably the raised bit of blade of grass. Just touching that, apart from that would have been another sensational try that he would have created. It would have gone through, about 4 or 5 players.
Yeah, as you say, Argentina had a try disallowed for a forward pass. During this one, they could have won more comfortably. They still need to sort out their scrum, really. But players that came back, Bertrand, who had a rest and then was brought back, Matera, both came back and had big games for the Pumas. If we go on across the other side, Australia have some decent players. Flower, we've talked about. Yes, he made the wrong decision, at the key time, but he's a good player. Dame Petty has been looking very good at fullback, but there's still just question marks around the right balance in that back line. Is Beale really a 10? Are Tamua and Hodge really a proper centre pairing? And I think that's a big question mark.
I think in terms of Beale at 10, it's the best that they've got. When you look at what to try and get that back line moving, it is the best that they've got. Tamua to me looked good. He was creative. He was in the right place. Made the right options. It's your centre at Hodge that sort of is the question mark. Is he, is he best actually suited on the bench where he can play a number of positions and come on as opposed to the starting centre? They need to find a centre and we've seen, we should be selectors. We picked Folau on the wing ages ago. And it works. It really does. The only thing that they're not doing is basically utilising his aerial skills, which we saw that one game the Waratahs did, going all the way back. I can't remember who the hell it was against.
The Rebels.
But it was the game. You kick for Folau. He pretty much gets it 90% of the time, if not always.
Yeah. And to be fair about the centre problem, Koroibete and Kirandrani are both injured. So they are down to their third choice. In Hodge, but it's still about getting that right balance. One of the things that you're going to have with Beale is he's one of the best players running across the line, running sideways along the pitch and releasing players, but it becomes a bit repetitive when you see him do it every time. And that's so they need more.
Effectively, what you're saying then is that so with Beale. There is the fact that he just has to change it up a bit as opposed to the run across the field looking to pick the guy that's going to be running into the hole.
Yep.
Look, the other thing for me is the fact is that you can have your Nick Phipps and the other guy that they've also used on the bench, which I think they used on, I've forgotten his name, sorry, long hair, sort of faff type here. But you got Guinea on the field. There's Guinea and then Daylight to your second halfback. You leave Guinea on the field. Your halfback on the bench is only if Guinea gets injured, he basically gets a leg cut off. That's when you change Guinea. You do not take Guinea off the field. Simple as that.
Yeah, I think the problem is that the scrum half runs the longest distance of any player on the pitch, which is why you see them substituted pretty much every single game with around about 20 minutes to go, just like your props, because it's the work they get through, and to try and keep that up for 80 minutes is just very difficult, which is why we see him take off, because he hasn't got the fitness to do the 80 minutes. I mean, and that's not a comment about Genia's ability to be fit, that's a comment about how scrum halves play and the fact that they never, or very rarely, play the whole game. Again,
But I'm just to sort of on your comment there is that you're right, 100%. He's going to be running out of petrol out of the tank, but him running on fumes is still better than the next best halfback that they've got at the moment.
And that's the problem with what Australia have is that they do in key positions, particularly 9 and 10. They are extremely thin. Their first choice guys are good, and after that, it's a problem. So that's a big problem for them is their depth and getting the right balance. They've got balance issues in the centres. They've got balance issues in the back three, where they've been trying to play Hooper and Pocock, and
they got balance issues in the pack.
Yeah.
I mean, like Andre's just in the old YouTube chat where it says basically making the pack lacks grunt, absolutely pack lacks grunt. Effectively, I'm not sure why they haven't tried Tupou as a starting prop. You might as well just get him starting and getting him to try and get him playing 60 minutes. There's no point bringing him on with 25 to go. He's got to be there. you need players that are going to make an impact from go. At the moment, they don't. I don't think their second row adds any grunt with Rodder and I've forgotten their name. Sorry, but Isaac Rodder and his partner and the
Arnold
three of them
this
actually,
time?
because they got Coleman.
Yep.
Sorry,
Was it Arnold? I
Adam
think?
Coleman.
Yep.
Yeah, they're not. There's no grunt coming from them. In terms of the back row, I actually think that the injuries of the successive weeks of Hooper and Pocock is actually see that the balance just doesn't work when they've got both of them on the field. Their back row was probably a bit more effective this week and last week with a proper back three than two open sides.
Yep. Absolutely. It's a shame Samu got himself injured in that one. Sorry, I only just realised we've got comments on YouTube. It wasn't coming up on the normal feed. Thoughts on bringing back Foley? No, I think we've both said that we have Beale's the best option there. So we wouldn't do that. And any other sort of final comments about this game? So there's one issue I want to go back and talk about very quickly for the All Blacks Springboks game, which is refereeing, or more to the point, fans' reactions to refereeing. It was difficult to follow the game on Twitter when you had all the South African fans complaining continuously about Nigel Owens reffing. And then what does the New Zealand Herald do? Well, hey, you know what? We need some clicks. Let's criticise the referee and put out a nice Nigel Owens was to blame for the loss. No, it wasn't. It was the South Africa putting the All Blacks under pressure and the All Blacks not being able to cope with that and not executing. Was it?
You can't blame the referee. You can't blame the referee when you've got over 70% possession and over 70% territory. You miss 4 kicks at goal. You throw a throw-in directly to the South African player. You can't blame the referee. That's just, sorry, but I have to use the word retarded. And it's just like any fan, and I saw a few All Blacks fans saying it on Twitter and the like, and it's just like, you guys are numpties. If you can't open your eyes and see that the All Blacks only got themselves to blame for losing that game.
Yep. Yeah, definitely not. There's not. It's not a. Yeah, the referee. So please just cut out all this moaning about the refereeing all the time. It ruins my enjoyment of the game. I'll be honest.
And since we're on referees, another thing that really sort of like rips my undies, 90s, whatever it's supposed to be, is the fact is that, fans having a go at each other about the reaction that they have towards referees. So obviously on the weekend you had the South African fans going, oh, what are the All Black fans going to moan about the referee? Well, you guys actually ended the career of Bryce Lawrence after the 2011 World Cup. They saw it was not safe for him to go back to South Africa to referee, so he never went back there. And within a year, his career was over, purely because of the reaction of the fans to his performance in 2011. So, pot, kettle, black really does my head in. Move on, flush the dunny, move on, game's over.
Yep, no, yeah. All fans, unfortunately, are as bad as each other about the referee, and I'd love it if you just cut it out, please. There we go.
Yeah, totally. Focus on the game. Focus on what your team is or isn't doing. That's where the problem is.
Exactly. Any final points? I think we've covered both games.
I think we just made it.
You made it. Fantastic. So, thank you, everybody. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I've got the wrong order, really. I think it's like, subscribe, comment is how you're supposed to say it. There you go. I also do more YouTube training. If you're listening to the podcast, 5-star reviews, all of that kind of lovely, jubbly stuff. I've tried altering the levels. Hopefully, we've got a more even sound tonight, rather than Arsenal being really loud and me being a bit more quiet. So hopefully they're the right levels for you. And I will continue to try and improve that if I haven't quite got it right. So thank you, everybody, for watching. And we'll be back tomorrow with Rugby Chat. Lots of stuff to talk about. And back on Wednesday with the All Blacks edition as well. And I will try and get some predictions out this evening for you as well. So thank you, everybody. Good night.
Hi.
Missing you already.